Listen, I mean, I'm going to be doing these things all over the country, but obviously New York, New Jersey is extremely special to me because this is where I'm from, and this is where my radio shows have heard, and you guys have supported for so long. So, especially here on Long Island, so much great support ever since I came on in New York City. So thank you guys, and thank you for the support on the book. It's doing phenomenally well. They've already started the second printing and on to the third printing. And before we even take any questions or anything, I do know there's an error in the book. If you guys already didn't know about it, I heard about it because of my very passionate fan base. Of all chapters, the Judas Priest chapter, that my good friend Rob Halford was nice enough to write the foreword, and I botched the Priest chapter. Because in it, I wrote that he left the band after Ram It Down. Of course I know he left after Painkiller. I don't know how that happened. But think of it as a collector's item if you have one of these first printings. You can think of it as having, for all the Kiss fans out there, the first Kiss album without Kiss in Time. If you're a Kiss fan, you'll understand that reference. Everybody else, you'll get it another time. But anyway, the book is done phenomenally well. I do want to introduce you real quickly to someone who is a huge part of the book. A lot of people worked on the book. I did all the text and things like that, but it's very much my stories. But the book was worked on by a lot of great people who did the design and the layout at the publisher Abrams. But also, 99% of the photos that you see in the book were taken by the man standing right here with the camera. That's Ron Akiyama, who did all the photography. And Ron's story, in conjunction with me in the book, is very important. It's one of the things that really, I think, makes the book kind of special, because Ron and I have been friends for over 30 years, and we went to all these shows together, and just like he's doing now, he'd be standing somewhere in the shadows with me taking photos, and he did that with all those great bands that you see in there. Some of those bands, especially the ones in the 70s, were not even really taken from a fan's perspective. He didn't really even take them as a professional, so to speak, with photo credentials. So that makes him even more impressive. And Ron and I grew up going to these shows together, and he documented the photos. So when it came time to put photos in the book, it could be a really tough process because you have to get clearances and approvals from all these artists and photographers. When I sent Ron up to Abrams, and they saw his stuff and realized a lot of it hadn't been published before, they said, well, we think we're just going to let him do the whole book, if that's okay with you. And I said, by all means. So outside of one or two photos and some of the little candid shots, Ron did all the stuff, and it's brilliant stuff, and it looks phenomenal, and it's a big part of the reason why I think people are loving the book as well. So, you want to say anything, or? He doesn't speak, he just takes photos. So that's, with that, I mean, you guys got any questions about anything, feel free to fire away. We'll chat for a bit, and then we'll sign some books. And my friend right in the front in the Kill 'Em All shirt, go ahead.
Are we doing Stump the Trunk?
No! No Stump the Trunk. No, that thing is going to haunt me the rest of my life. You realize that, right? I go down, I was in Los Angeles a few weeks ago. You haven't lived until you walk down Sunset Boulevard and people just start yelling at you, "Stump the Trunk." It's just crazy. God, what is it, sir? We'll do one. What is it?
Van Halen's 1980 Invasion. The slogan.
The what?
The slogan. It was on like Mike Payne and I's bass. It was on all. Everybody.
I don't know. What is it?
We don't fuck around. Remember WTFA on Mike's bass?
Sir, it's a family book story. I knew that. I just didn't want to say it because I didn't want to curse to the audience. Miss Box of Junk, come on out there. But thank you. Yeah, that segment of the TV show has taken on a whole new life for me. And, I never claimed to be the guy that know it all, but we had some fun with it, and we still have some fun with it. And it's funny because I find that everybody roots for me to get them wrong just because they love to see me get so agitated. So I'm happy to deliver, If it gets the job done, so be it. Anybody else?
You mentioned all the groups and singers that have been so nice to you. Have you ever come across anybody who's been rude to you as a fan, like when you ask for an autograph or something?
So you I've had a couple issues with some artists recently in the last 3-4 years because of what I do, which is talking as a fan, being honest about wearing it on my sleeve and how I feel about things. I won't compromise that. I feel that's important to do in radio and TV. You don't have to agree, but I just never wanted to be that guy that just, you know, I just wanted to be truthful. I mean, I grew up listening to Howard Stern on the radio, and I still listen to him to this day, and it always astonished me because he could say anything he wanted about any of these people. They'd still come on his show, and he'd get into it with them and debate it. And I'm like, why is every radio person I ever heard, or TV person, every record is the greatest record they ever heard? They can't really feel that way. So I'm like, well, why not have that debate? So it's something I always did on radio and TV. And some artists get tweaked about that. Others are actually very cool about it. You earn a lot more respect doing that. Going back to when I was a really little kid trying to get autographs and stuff, you know, that would have been, I really can't think of anything off the top of my head. No, I've been doing this in the business now since 1983. Here on Long Island, you wouldn't have known too much because I started at a station where I live in Jersey that doesn't come here. Much like you guys have BAB here that we don't hear on Long Island, in Jersey, we had a station in Jersey, DHA, that you don't get here. And that's where I grew up doing radio right out of high school in '83. So since I started so young, you find pretty quickly that when you're in a position to help these artists, if you ask for anything, most of them are going to help you out too. You know, it takes a lot for an artist to be even if they are dicks in real life, they're usually not a dick to people who can do something for them. So, but I never had that horrifying experience that I can think of, even as a fan. You know, just I'm still a fan, but you know, before I started in the industry, really no. But the only issues I've had is, you know, as my profile, if you will, doing radio and TV gets bigger and my voice has more meaning when I say something. Sometimes I say stuff and I meant it and it came from me, and other times people post things pretending to be me and then the artists get mad and, you know, I have to smooth it out if they're willing to talk to me. And then if I said it, I'll say, yeah, I said it, that's how I feel. Like I said, some of them are cool, some of them aren't. So that's really the biggest issue I have now.